Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Keep, Sell or Loan. And if you didn't watch part 1, click the card at the top of the screen, check it out and pop back to see me and Jon as we discuss this squad review and who we think which players should be part of the plans for the 2023-24 season. And previously, Jon, we had a look at the goalkeepers and defenders, and I think I'm generally still quite happy with what we positioned in that tier list.
Yeah, I mean, since this has come out, there's been talk about Viña and the fact that the club are very much interested in bringing him back in. There's a lot of clickbaity headlines that says we've turned down the option to buy him. It's like that is true, but we're looking to get a cheaper deal on him. So we'll see whether we're actually able to bring in Viña permanently. But I think the rest of it all makes good sense, even if the idea that we actually do sell Fredericks, I think, is unlikely. But it's what we want. That's just to reinforce this is what Kirk and I would do with the squad, not what we think Bournemouth themselves will do.
Spot on. Subscribe to Cherries Red Army, our 1.6k channel. Hit the like button on this video and use those comments to tell us what you think about next season and this squad review. And let's jump back into the tier list and jump in straight out of the Bournemouth exit is Jefferson Lerma. He has now been unveiled as a Crystal Palace player. It's not a surprise, Jon, that Jefferson Lerma left the club after 5 great years of service. Maybe we hoped it'd be a different club and a different destination. It's done now. It's over to the recruitment team in the summer to fill that massive void that he's left. We need a new heartbeat and a new player we can adore.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Jefferson Lerma has been spoken about many a time on this channel and on Bournemouth social media and all over the internet about how brilliant he's been, and on our award show when we spoke about him at length as well. So we won't go too much longer on Jefferson Lerma other than the fact that he is out the door. A player that I think many of us probably hoped would be more of a natural replacement, but we'll have to see what actually happens, is the next player on the list in Ben Pearson. And now obviously he was out on loan at Stoke for the second half of last season. What do you think, Kirk? I think that Ben Pearson he could fill that spot. I think that he definitely does he does it in a different way to Lerma. Lerma's more capable going forward, there's no doubt. But as a disruptive ball winner, I think Pearson can definitely fit that role. It's just whether you think that we should be being more ambitious than that.
I mean, he came in on that opening day, helped us get a 2-0 win against Aston Villa. But this level, not sure, Jon. I think it's going to come down to a question of what our midfielder outlook looks like going into next season. If we're looking a bit short, then Ben Pearson might have a part to play. If we have a good transfer window, then I think Ben Pearson probably needs to leave the club. He did that in the rest of the season to go and get some game time. Maybe I think Championship level he comfortably is his level. Premier League, maybe over a season, I'm not sure. He's not at the levels of Jefferson Lerma. And if we're looking to go some dizzy heights of mid-table and beyond, I just don't think Ben Pearson's enough, Jon. And I think we might try and cash in. Not sure what his contract status is at the moment. What's the type of contract that he's on?
Let me see if I have a look here. Ben Pearson only has a year left on his contract, so it's not long.
I think, and if you agree, I think it is a bit of a sell.
Yeah.
And the only thing that will stop that is if we just struggle to recruit in central midfield.
No, I agree with that.
So we're hoping we have a good window then. We do like Ben Pearson. He's a lovely guy. He's a bit of fun as well when you see video clips around Bournemouth and their social media. But yeah, moving forward, I think we might see Ben Pearson leave the club. The next player is an interesting one, Jon. Lewis Cook. And we know that Lewis Cook is loved again as a player, struggled after his significant injuries. And again, I think it's time for Lewis Cook for a new challenge. Maybe the Championship, get more game time. He's really struggled through this season. But we've currently got a massive hole in our midfield. So we're going to be in trouble in a minute if we're not signing players.
Yeah, I think the central midfield is definitely an area that we'll be looking to improve on, and we have to obviously recruit in anyway. I think Lewis Cook is even more of the variable that you spoke about, in that Ben Pearson might end up having to stick around if we don't recruit well enough. And I think Cook is in the exact same spot, obviously in a slightly different position. And I think we saw the best of him in what fits his skill set in that number 6 role in the when he was fit and playing well in the championship season. But we don't play that. We don't do that anymore. And does he have the ball carrying ability of, from what we've seen so far, Joe Rothwell, from that double pivot role sat next to, as it was, Lerma at the end of last season? When Lewis Cook has been at his best, he's very capable of working in that position and working for this team. But with his injury record, he's a player we can definitely improve on. And it's a shame, because I thought when we initially got Lewis Cook, I thought it was an incredible deal from the promise that he had. But I think, again, it depends on what we bring in, and I think we are looking to be active in this window. So I would be looking at selling for the time being. But again, like you said, it's one of those ones where if we aren't able to bring in the players that we want, if we can't bring in the quality we want, then he's an able backup, provided that he is able to be on the pitch.
And remember, if we are trying to be active in the window, we've got to try and bring some funds into the club as well. So Lewis Cook's been here a long time. There is going to be that massive question mark in how we recruit, and that could determine what happens with Lewis Cook. And Lewis Cook's got a massive decision to make for his own career, I think. But I am agreeing with you again, John, which I do a lot, by the way. I do agree with you a lot. So we are going to put Lewis Cook in the sell tab. We need to stop the rot, John. This is not a very good start in part 2. Let's go to Joe Rothwell, a guy that we got on a free from Blackburn Rovers. When he got himself into the side, he gave us some progression up the pitch. He gave us that assist at Arsenal for the Senesi goal. He's a player that can play between the lines, has a cutting pass in him, will definitely be on a good contract. So Joe Rothwell surely has a part to play in next season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's contracted with us for the next 3 years up till 2026. And from what we've seen, there'd be absolutely no reason to let him go anywhere. He's a pretty quick keep in this list. And I think what we saw towards the end when he was in the team last season was his all-round game for us. He did a good job at winning the ball back. He was incredibly tidy under pressure in defence, which is what was Lewis Cook's sort of best quality in that deeper role in midfield, was his ball retention, his resistance to the press. And Joe Rothwell showed that he's just as good at that, if not slightly better. He dribbles the ball well. He is not going to get many assists, but he is the creator behind the assist quite frequently. Was really impressed with Joe Rothwell when he got into the side. So he's one that he's one that's definitely going to be sticking around for a little while now.
Joe Rothwell is a keep, and the next player in the tier list is Gavin Kilkenny, another player the Bournemouth fans absolutely love. I must admit, John, that I was a bit worried about Gavin Kilkenny this season. He took a loan move to Stoke, wasn't really confident about that. He struggled to get in a Stoke side. That's never good to hear. He then had a sideways move to Charlton in League One to get more game time. I think he had 8 games there. I'm not saying that I've heard a lot of positive stuff about Gavin Kilkenny's game time in 22-23. I do think Gavin Kilkenny's a very, very good player. Again, this is levels when you get to the Premier League. Now, with Gavin Kilkenny, he's on a pretty decent contract until 2025. I do feel if we have a good transfer window, John, it might be another loan move out at this stage. But again, if we do end up selling Lewis Cook and Ben Pearson, we might need some central midfielders.
Yeah, true. And we are going through this with some level of assumptions about what we would do in the market and bringing players in, which, I mean, that might be a video idea for the future, I think. But it's Gavin Kilkenny is definitely another loan out. I don't think I'm quite at the point where I would be selling him. I think given the length of his contract, he's still a player that is thought of quite highly, and we saw that he can cut it in the Championship for the right team playing in the way that suits him. It's about getting him to a club that he's preferably in the Championship again, although we'll see whether he's able to get that move, that plays an attacking, possession-heavy style that allows you to see the best out of his game. Because when he was playing in that 6 role at the start of our Championship promotion season, he really looked like he had it. He had everything in him apart from his size, which you can work around when you're a ball dominant side. So he needs another move to a team that's going to suit him, because I think so far the Stoke one definitely didn't work. Admittedly, there was a lot of injuries involved in that one, and then I have no idea how it went at Charlton. But 8 games in half a season isn't a lot. So, we'll see what happens.
Right, some difficult conversations to come now with our next AFC Bournemouth player, and that is top goal scorer for 22-23, Mr. Phil Billing. Now, Philip Billing is on a contract until 2024. Now, this is about whether we should keep Phil Billing for next season or sell him. Now, obviously, John, if we have Philip Billing on a good contract, we don't want to lose 7 goals and assists and a player that can press in our side. But Phil Billing's been with us a few years now, and there are games where Phil Billing goes missing, not so much as he used to. I think he's definitely performed in a lot of areas. My concern is, John, that maybe even Philip Billing's thinking about his future career and what that looks like, and maybe he wants to test himself at a different level. Maybe he wants to try and go to Spain and play for a side in the Europa League. I don't really know. My concern is, John, I'm not overly confident he's going to sign a new contract. And we come back to the Lloyd Kelly situation, where if you're telling me that Phil Billing's not signing a new contract, cash in. We've got Hammer Traorè. I do think we need another Philip type Billing player. It comes down to the contract again, which is what you spoke about with Lloyd Kelly.
Yeah, so that's probably the biggest sort of fan football channel on YouTube is Football Daily, and I managed to get one of my Twitter comments put up on that on a video they did about who your team should sell, one player that you think your club should sell. And while there were a lot of Lewis Cook shouts among Bournemouth fans for that one, I thought I'd put out quite a controversial take that we should sell Philip Billing. And I actually got no pushback from any Bournemouth fans on that one, which I was very surprised at, because it seems as though there's a decent amount of, amongst Bournemouth fans, not those outside the club. I think those outside the club will probably think we're all absolutely bonkers to sell Philip Billing. But like you said, he's only got a year left on his contract, and I don't believe for a second he's going to sign another deal, because he has shown now he is definitely capable of playing towards the upper echelons of the Premier League. And how much we get for him is interesting. I reckon he could be up there. We should be asking for 25 to 30 million range, but it might be slightly less than that because he's only got a year left on his deal. But we have previously, particularly Eddie Howe, only had Eddie Howe when he just wanted to keep everyone in the squad. It didn't really matter. We need to do better at actually getting money into the squad through player sales. And I personally would sell Philip Billing this season because, like you said, we've got Traorè, we've got Billing coming back, we've got Brooks coming back in. I think he should really be playing more as the 10 than he should the 7. We've got Christie that can play as a 10, but I'd rather have him out wide. And then there is opportunities to bring another player in. And heck, if we're keeping the likes of Kiefer Moore, then you can still play a front 2, or Semenyo, and Solanke even plays deeper these days if you need him to. There are ways to keep going, and we're looking to bring in more quality. I still think Billing has been our best player this season. I did vote for... he's been one of our best players this season. Out of him and Tavernier, I think I just about edged Tavernier in Player of Season award votes, but Billing would be right up there, as I think you thought so as well. It was between him and Billing. So I don't want him to go in terms of, why would you want one of your 2 best players to leave? But at the same time, Bournemouth is not a club that can just keep holding on to players and let their contract run out and lose out on multiple millions from player sales, and Bournemouth need to do a better job of refreshing their squad. So I would personally make sure we get some money for him, and look at selling Philip Billing this summer.
Yeah, I agree, because if you're telling me that Phil Billing gets a new 4-year contract, I absolutely 100% want him to stay at Bournemouth. But if I don't believe he's going to sign a new contract, which I don't think he is, then I think we cash in. When it comes to Traorè, John, which we'll talk about in a moment, we're still yet to be convinced by Traorè. He's going to need a bedding in period, just like Philip Billing needed. His numbers from Sassuolo are okay. They're not going to reach the heights of Billing in one season, I don't think. But with David Brooks, maybe getting another player in that cam role, we can definitely get by. I don't think taking Billing out this side is the be all and end all, but it will be a great loss to us, but I think it's recoverable. So I would say at this stage, not knowing his contract status, yeah, maybe we get 15-20 million for Billing. Back into the tier list, John, and it's Emiliano Marcondes, who's recently just had ankle surgery, I think, on a struggling foot that he's been dealing with. Marcondes is a player that definitely works his way into the fan base, works his way into the club. I don't see Marcondes becoming a player that's going to be a start in 11 for us. He might fall back as a squad player potentially. I think it's another loan move, though, Marcondes, for next season if it's not out the door completely.
Yeah, I would say that. I'd say that really for someone of his age, he'd be late 20s, I believe. I don't think he's hitting his 30s yet. Certainly mid to late 20s. I'm not sure he'd want another loan move. I don't see him as part of the squad next season. I think he will leave, whether it be permanently or temporarily. I think he's a fantastic bloke by all accounts. He looks like he's a fantastic person to have around the training ground, and has tried to ingratiate himself amongst the fans when he's been with us for as much as possible. I mean, he certainly had, I believe he even went over with to see Ugandan Cherries. Did he even go over there to see them? I mean, don't think there was any other player that's done that for us. And he's just a great guy, but I don't think he's got the quality to play in a Premier League side. I would be selling him. I think Brentford, a lot of Brentford fans when we brought him in said he's a luxury player. When things are going well, he can look fantastic. But if you needed things to be, if things are difficult, if things are down and dirty, as we have to often be very defensive and sort of hanging in there, I don't think he's really the player that you want. Tracking runners for you. So whether it's loan or sell, I see him. I don't see him in the. I don't see him registered for Bournemouth next season.
And if you look at some of these championship sides now, and some of those teams that are relegated, they couldn't make. A good decision would be to call Bournemouth and look at Marcondes, because he is a very established championship player, has a good record of getting promoted as well out of that division. So, that'll be Marcondes, maybe a loan, maybe a sell. But I would agree again with you, John. I don't think I've disagreed with you yet on part one or two.
Interesting.
Yeah, need to create more debates. Next player coming in is probably going to be a keep, probably going to be another choice we're going to agree on, and that is Hamed Traorè. I've had a little bit of a say on him. He's now signed permanently after we survived that relegation battle. Again, we'll have to see what he can deliver. Does he play off the left? Does he play through the centre? Looks like he's got good feet. Can he add numbers? We're going to need more goals in this football team. But Hamed Traorè will be part of the Bournemouth team next season.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty quick keep. I mean, we've only just bought him, so he's not going to be. I'm not even sure we can sell him if we've brought him in. If we've literally just brought him in, most we could do is loan him out, I think. But no, it's. I would certainly want to see more from him, and probably him be our sort of number 10, as it were, going forward next season, depending on how we set up. But I imagine it'll be a pretty similar 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1 next season. I think I think there are bits where you've seen so far that he just doesn't pass the ball quickly enough. He's not quite quick enough on his feet. I don't think the Italian league is that slow. I think the Italian league's actually improved quite a bit recently, but he just didn't look like he was up to the pace of the Premier League for us when he was playing before. As for his time at Sassuolo, over the last few seasons, He scored, 4 goals, 1 assist in the 1920 season. 5 goals, 3 assists when I think he was on loan at another club the season after. 7 goals, 4 assists the season after that. And in the half a season before we bought him, it was 11 games, 3 assists. So he looks like he can do it all just from the stats. And Sassuolo is sort of a middling team in Serie A. So I think he's definitely got it in him, without a doubt, to be a key player for us. Just hope he stays fit, because obviously he's had his injury issues. But I'd see him as a almost nailed on starter for the start of the season against whoever that is.
Yes.
Of course, we'll find out the
Very
fixtures in a few days compared to whenever this is released. But yes, it'll be soon.
Yeah, let's hope that foot injury is fully repaired, ready for next season. And here we go with the Warrior. It is David Brooks. Got himself some appearances at the back end of last season. Had a very, very good performance in all at Everton. One of our bright sparks. Obviously lost the game, but it's good to see David Brooks on the pitch again, John. Hopefully another good pre-season for him, get fitter and fitter and up to match speed. And we know what David Brooks can deliver on his day. You don't lose that skill. You don't lose that touch. And I'm hoping we can really see the best again of David Brooks, and surely a player that's in our plans for next season.
Yes. It's been, obviously he's already been called up to the Wales squad, but it'd be good for him to just have a pre-season, because he hasn't been fully fit for a pre-season in 3-4 years. So yeah, he hasn't looked fully up to speed until Everton, where he started looking a bit better. I certainly would definitely keep him. I've seen some talk online about people suggesting that we loan him out. I think that I'd probably prefer to keep him around. I think there are enough areas in our squad that we need to recruit for, that we have someone that we know has Premier League quality. There's no reason to loan him out, particularly someone that can play in a couple of positions. Brooks can play right mid or number 10. And so you have that ability, you have that quality with a full preseason to get himself well and truly up to speed. I don't see a reason to not include him in our squad going forward.
I mean, if we're loaning out David Brooks, we've had a ridiculous transfer window, because not only have we got to fill bigger positions than that, in my opinion, we must be bringing in some serious talent outside of those positions we need to fill at fullback and maybe goals up top and in central midfield. So, yeah, I don't see David Brooks going out on loan, and I'll put him in to keep. And I'm sure you're absolutely fine with that, John. So we'll leave David Brooks right at the top. And the next on the list is Jaden Anthony. Now, a player that you've always admired. And Jaden Anthony signed a new contract. A bit of a shock that his teammate, his best friend, his flatmate didn't. Jon Spark's off to Serie A. And this is clearly a move for the club to secure a player on a deal for potentially cashing in if they need to later on down the line. But maybe the club and fans do see potential in Jaden Anthony. There are parts of Jaden Anthony's game, John, that I just want him to be a little bit more fronting up defenders, maybe have a go at taking them on. We know that he struggles if there's not a lot of movement around him, no overlaps. So there is a concern there. How is he going to cope without Jon Spark, or potentially not having a progressive fullback, depending on how we're going to play next season?
Well, this has always been the issue with Jaden Anthony, is that, and similarly with Jon Spark, actually, if the two of them don't play together, they don't work as well, because they've got that familiarity with them. And the thing is that Anthony, because he's not a dribbler, he's not your stereotypical winger. He is more of a playmaker. He's very much, his ability to thread a pass, as we saw in the championship season, is really a step above what I ever expected from him. And he's obviously got a decent finish as well. I mean, I just have to double check, but he finished the season with a few goals. He obviously scored home and away against Nottingham Forest. 3 goals over the course of not all that much game time. But he did feature in 30 matches all told. Admittedly, quite a few of those would have been like 4 or 5 minute cameos. But he featured in a large number of games. He's clearly gotten involved with the squad, and I think there's definitely more to come from Jaden Anthony, but he needs an attacking left back to really be able to literally bounce off of him. And obviously he worked well with Philip Billing when Billing came more towards the left-hand side when we were playing that sort of slightly more traditional 4-3-3 in the championship season. So he needs the players around him to work with. If you give him that, you will see so much more from him. And the issue has been, particularly this second half of the season, is that it's just been Lloyd Kelly at left back, doesn't get forward at all, doesn't pass to him very well, if you know what I mean, as in he keeps passing it, hospital passes that make it difficult for him to actually sort of get forward. And he often ends up surrounded, and it's a press trigger, and it's really frustrating to see. If we can get it, you can saw at times him and Vinya combining, not very much, but at times you did. We just need to get an attacking left back to give him the option to bounce off of and work well with, and then you'll see a lot more from him. I really do think so. But for now, he is a very able squad player. He's not in my starting 11 as things currently stand, but I don't think there's any point in loaning him out or for God forbid selling him at this point.
My early thoughts are that he might struggle for game time next season, depending on what we do in the summer. But he is a keep. He's just signed a new contract, and I do see him part of our Premier League squad for the upcoming season. Okay, moving over to Jamal Lowe, who had a successful time for us in the Championship in that promotion. He went off to QPR last season, had a blistering start for them, but they were falling down the Championship, survived at the death. They will be playing Championship football next season. For Jamal Lowe, pretty similar to Emiliano Marcondes, John. I see this player as a well-established Championship player, a player that can definitely give you a chance of promotion. So if you are relegated to the Championship this season, you might want to look at Jamal Lowe. Again, I don't see Jamal Lowe as part of our future plans, and I think I would sell him.
Yep, totally agree. I think Jamal Lowe sort of really made his name in the Championship by playing in a front two at Swansea in a 3-5-2 formation that got the best out of him. But he was also a very streaky player. He scored, I don't know, 9 goals, 9 games in a row or something at one point for Swansea, and then didn't score for 10 or 12. It's just, he has a particular spot that he works best in, which is either left wing or in a front two. And either way, that's in the Championship. I don't think he's got the quality to do it in the Premier League personally, and no point in selling him out. He needs to make sure he's getting game time. He'd have plenty of suitors in the Championship, I'm sure.
And the next player, I'm going to pass over to you because you say his name so well.
Yes, Ouattara, Burkina Faso, Burkina. I actually don't know the what is it adjective for. Was it someone from Burkina Faso? But yeah, Dango. I still need to find out exactly how that's spelled because I think it would be Dongo. But he's shown his quality already. Absolutely, he's an easy keep first straight up, and we've spoken about him enough. There's not really too much more to say. He's got enough quality. He's got the physicality. He's got a hell of a leap on him as well, and the defensive work rate, which is fantastic. He's exactly what Gary O'Neill wants from a winger. If he could just add a few more goals, then it'd be fantastic. But he's already got a good number of assists. He obviously won us the game against Tottenham Hotspur in his only goal for us so far. Needs to work on that celebration, but he's been a revelation for us. And fingers crossed, we go back to Lorient to bring in maybe one or two others from there, because there's certainly one man in particular that a lot of people are looking that we hope that we bring in midfield, which I wouldn't mind either. But it's been a fantastic bit of business for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's added massive moments, got us some massive points. So he's had an instant contribution, very raw. John, I love his directness, by the way. Now, when I was talking about Anthony not quite wanting to attack a fullback, Dango Ouattara will, and he also will do the run. So the ball over the top, just did against Liverpool for the square back for Philip Billing. The one thing I have picked up with Dango at the moment is that his crossing is either too soon or too late. Like, he needs to find that balance. Sometimes it's too snap, and sometimes he just overdoes it, and then he gets sort of brushed off and it goes out for a goal kick. So I love it. He's trying to get the ball in the box, but I don't know about you. Sometimes it's so snap. I can remember Leicester where he was just over trying and it just wasn't coming off, and he was pulling it behind Billing, and then he got taken off after 37 minutes. But look, what is he, 2021? He's raw. He just needs to find that balance. He's got assists for his crossing, so I'm not criticising his crossing completely, but it is very snap at times, and he just needs to wait an extra second to let some players enter the box and really get on the end of it. And I don't know if you picked up on that, but that's just the one thing I'm seeing with Ouattara at the moment.
Just timing, I think, in general. I think whether it be too early or too late, I do agree with you. And at times, I feel that I think his right foot crossing has generally been pretty darn poor. I think his first cross for us was with his right foot against Forest to Anthony, who then scored.
Yes.
But after that, he kept trying to cross with his right foot and he kept getting it completely wrong. And he's clearly able to hit decently with his right foot. He scored with it. And, we were being told that he's not totally two-footed, but he is pretty good with both feet. He's very definitely better with his left, I think, and more natural with his left, but he does have the ability to hit it with his right as well, which is good. But just generally being more involved in the squad, I'm sure he'll pick up on that more.
Next player is leaving AFC Bournemouth. What a servant this guy has been. What an absolute lovely guy he is off the pitch as well. Junior Stanislas, end of contract. We'll wait to see what the future holds for Junior, whether he goes away and plays for another team, whether he goes into coaching. Short thought on Junior Stanislas, though, John. We know he's not going to be in a Bournemouth shirt next season. Been hampered with injuries, been very unfortunate, but he's had some fantastic moments for us through the years.
Yeah, the label injury prone was made for players like Junior Stanislas. Unfortunately, he has just suffered so much with not being able to stay fit, particularly this season, and in fact the season before, really. But he has provided so many moments. So how many goals can you remember of Junior Stanislas that it just blew you away? Whether it be the free kick goals, the one against West Brom is still one of the best free kick goals that's ever been scored in a Bournemouth shirt. The straight from a corner against Man United, the second and third goals against Everton in that 3-3 draw. I still remember in our first season back in the Championship, I think we were playing away at Stoke, which was one of the worst games you'll see from us. And then in the 81st minute or whatever it is, he dribbled the third of the pitch and stuck it away in the bottom corner to win us that game. I can't believe he's not been here for 10 years and he'll get a testimonial. He's only been 9 seasons, but I wish him all the best, I think. And it was that video that was put out over Twitter and I'd imagine over a few different social media platforms about one of the social media guys at Bournemouth just absolutely showering him with praise as not only being a great footballer, which he really was one of our best footballers when he was fit in terms of technical ability on the ball, but just how great a person he is, and a number of videos put out about his interaction with the fans and with charity work, and yeah, I mean he's like a number of Bournemouth players that have been here a while. I would be delighted to see him stick around and being involved with coaching at Bournemouth, and I would be amazed if he doesn't have that offer. But obviously, as someone that is still in his early 30s, I think he may look and try and get another year or two at another professional club. But I would welcome him back with open arms.
And currently, Bournemouth fans, our last goal scorer from a direct free kick is Junior Stanislas back in the Championship. Just hold that thought for a moment. If we need to improve in some areas next season, we need to find someone that can hit a dead ball. So Junior Stanislas still holds that stat. Right. We are getting close to the end, John. Marcus Tavernier, going to be a massive player for us next season, was a massive player for us this season. He'll be a 100% keep, and we need to try and keep him fit more often next season.
Yeah, I mean, both of us just barely had him as our player of the year. So, I mean, we're not exactly going to be doing anything different with him. Yeah, he's such a key member of the squad, and has dragged us over the finish line of a few matches this season just gone. And provided he improves his fitness record a little bit, he's had a few niggly injuries that have kept him out here and there, and obviously wasn't with us at the return from the World Cup. Yeah, just really, really looking forward to seeing more of Tavernier next season.
100%. Siriki Dembele went off on loan to Auxerre in France, I think. I can't sit here and say that I know much about how Siriki Dembele got on, but he's back in that category I've been talking about on part 2, about being an established or a very good championship player, John. And I think that we might be maybe looking to exercise a move for Siriki Dembele out of the club, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think is another one that, to be fair, I don't know whether he has Premier League quality. It's just he never got the chance, and he didn't really feature all that much in the Championship either. He had his moments, and I think that certainly in that Championship season and in the first half of the Premier League season, there was a lot of uproar from fans saying, just give him 20, 30 minutes. Just let us see what he can do, because he's not afraid to take on a man. I think in terms of, I think in his very brief period with when he played for us, which wasn't very long, I think per 90 he's our most dispossessed player, or lost the ball the most. Admittedly, that's over the course of like 10 minutes or something, because he kept just trying to take his man on, and that's what you want to see. We want to see more of that from our players. We've gone long enough without really having a dribbler out on the wings. I think Ouattara can do that now, but yeah, I think it's going to be a sell. I think there's definitely going to be enough suitors for him. I don't think he had a great time at Auxerre. I think he was on the bench for a long time in there, and I don't know whether that was ability or attitude that was because of that. But yeah, I would like to have seen more of him. But at this point, I don't see him hanging around. And again, it's another one where he's at that age where there's no point in it being a loan. It might as well being a sell.
But you never know. It might be another loan move. Ryan Christie, he loves playing off the left, John. Doesn't mind playing off the right. And we know that he makes Fraser. Yeah, I won't continue. Ryan Christie worked his way into the side at the back end of the season, contributed in that purple patch. Still needs more numbers. I know I bang on about it in every stream where we talk about Ryan Christie. If he adds numbers, we've got a very, very good player on our hands. And like Aaron said in previous videos, we probably wouldn't have Ryan Christie at the club if he could add numbers. Definitely going to be part of the squad, though, surely. I'm not sure what his contract looks like, because we signed him in the Championship. But Ryan Christie seems to like being at Bournemouth, and he's got a place in this squad, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. He's only got another year left on his contract, so that's one that I would be looking at saying, well, here's the difference, is that Lloyd Kelly has definitely, will have sort of ambitions probably to look higher, even if I don't think he's capable of it right now. Philip Billing definitely could play higher, and that's why we're thinking of getting some money for him. Whereas Ryan Christie, I think this is his level. I think bottom end of the Premier League is his level. If not really, he's working above his level at the moment, because he wasn't exactly getting numbers in the Championship either. So, well, not goals anyway. He did get a fair few assists. But yeah, it's definitely keep. And I could definitely see us. I wouldn't be surprised if within the next month he signed a new contract. Because he's a brilliant squad player. He obviously is capable of starting and being involved in the first 11, but you could easily see him as a squad player, even if he wasn't starting every game. That's what we kind of expected of him in the second half of the season. Once we signed Ouattara, you kind of thought, well, that's Christie done. And no, it really, gave him the right kick at the backside, and he was playing even better. And I think we both agree that we were very impressed with a lot of his performances in the second half of the season. The problem is that he's an attacking midfielder. Maybe he plays off the right, but he's an attacking midfielder, and he got 1 goal and 1 assist in over 30 appearances.
Yeah, quite a few appearances.
That's not good enough. So he's got to do more than that. But having said that, I could see him up that to maybe being involved in 6 to 8 goals or assists next season, and that would be rough. That would be hitting slightly above average for what I would expect of him. So I don't think he will show himself to be so good that he gets a move to a bigger club. But I do think we should be trying to tie him down for another couple of years, given that his contract runs out in 12 months.
Yeah, I definitely think we got a very good chance to get a new contract over the line with Ryan Christie. Agree with everything you say there. Christian Sadie is in the retained list that Bournemouth had released on the club website. Had a pretty successful loan spell last season. 7 goals, I think, John, in League One, if I've got that correct. And a player that's come through our academy. The question mark will be over his head about the level he can play at, but you definitely keep the likes of Christian Sadie at the club and see how he develops. Another loan move?
Yeah, definitely. A player that wasn't included in this list, but was also had their contract extended by option from the club was Nathan Mariah Welsh, who also had a very successful period at Newport County. I believe he was their Young Player of the Year at Newport County. So he had a great time, and he's another player that, as we will move Christian Sadie into the loan slot, and Nathan Mariah Welsh would also fit into that loan slot because they both need another loan move. Mariah Welsh, we're looking at least League One, maybe even Championship level to try and get him to. Sadie got 7 goals and 3 assists in 35 appearances for Shrewsbury, which is a League One side that was mid-table, was struggling for a decent period, and then actually almost pushed for the playoffs at one point in League One. So, do I think that he should go to League One again? Maybe, but it would have to be right at the top end of League One. What I'd like to see him now is do something in the Championship. It may be for a lower end Championship side, it might be mid-table, whatever. I'd rather see him go to a Championship side and try and get some experience there, because these youngsters need to level up, otherwise they'll just get sold. Because these lads, it's incredibly difficult to get yourself into a Premier League side and get yourself regularly into a Premier League squad at that age, particularly when you're a team like Bournemouth that are, going to be struggling every year to stay in the division. And we suffered over the years with bringing through a lot of youngsters that just couldn't make the grade at Bournemouth because we shot up the divisions and the youngsters weren't able to keep up. Half of that was because of facilities as well, which hopefully will improve soon. But yeah, I think I'd like to see him get another loan move, and he's showing promise, definitely, and both of them are. And talking about Mariah Welsh as well, but they just need to keep improving year on year and showing that they could play for us in the Premier League at some point. I think, in all likelihood, these two lads will hopefully sign another deal. We'll get them to sign on for another year or two, see how they do, and we may end up selling them after a year. It depends on how they perform in their next loan move, because they're getting to that age where they'll be asking for a permanent move, looking to get a regular sort of sat at a solid club for a long term, and we'll have to wait and see if that can be Bournemouth. Hopefully it is. We all like to see youth players come through for us and feature, but it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and they've still got to prove themselves.
And then there were 3, and the next one in the list is Antoine Semenyo, a player that we purchased in January. 1 goal for us, struggled for match fitness and a little injury at the back end of the season. A good contract for Semenyo, 2027. I must admit, when we got Semenyo, John, I was looking at this sort of purchase as a player that we had chased for a few windows, a player that could show potential at Premier League level. But if the worst happened to Bournemouth and we ended up back in the Championship, we had a very good player on our hands who had done very well for Bristol City. Yeah. What the future holds for Semenyo, watch this space. He'll be part of this team next year. I'm not sure he's going to be breaking into the 11 that often, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think he's an able backup that's more that's more an out-and-out 9. Not that he can't play as a left wing. I think he's brought in because he's versatile and that he can play sort of on the left side. He could play on the right side. Could probably play in the front too. But I think he's more of the sort of more out-and-out player that's going to hang on the last man and make those runs in behind, as opposed to Solanke, who does a bit of everything. But yeah, I think you're right. I don't see him in the starting 11 as things stand. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point next season he's coming on at the end of games, he nicks a couple goals, maybe shows what he can do in a cup game and starts a few games. And if he's able to really grab that shirt, he could keep it going. There's definitely quality in there. There's definitely promise and talent. It's just a case at the moment of maybe waiting too long to pass the ball after he's taken it past the first guy, or as Solanke occasionally does, takes it past 3 and decides that rather than passing it, he'll try and take it past the 4th instead and fail and lose it there, which I could see Semenyo doing a few times next. I think he has already done that a few times for us. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you. Keep him. He'll be a great bench option, but at the moment, nothing more. But, give him the chance to grab the shirt. You never know what you could do.
Semenyo goes straight at the top into keep, and this is a big discussion coming up right now, John, and that is Kiefer Moore. I absolutely love Kiefer Moore as a person, as a player that scored that winning goal against Nottingham Forest. I think he is a capable striker. I think he's lacked a bit of confidence in the second half of the season. It feels like, John, that we've forgotten about the good stuff that he did in the first part of the season before the World Cup. He scored on the opening day of the season. He scored 2 goals against Tottenham. He was scoring massive goals. But our game sort of changed a little bit in the second half under Gary O'Neill when he got this permanent job. I say changed. We're trying to work out what our game is. And we weren't playing to Kiefer Moore's strengths when we had him on the pitch. He had a spell where he literally wasn't on the pitch. He came on for like 2 minutes against Villa, and that was his first 2 minutes in a long time. I do like Kiefer Moore. I do think this team needs more goals next season. If you're not going to play to Kiefer Moore's strength and the style's not going to marry with Kiefer Moore, I think potentially with a contract he has until 2025, I know his age is past 30 now, I believe. I would be trying to cash in, though, to add funds to getting a striker that can score us 10, 12, 13, 14 goals next season.
Now, I think what the club could do is it could well agree with you in terms of letting him go. But for me, I don't see why there's any reason to sell him personally. I think that this is all dependent on the fact that Kiefer Moore understands his role in the side as the plan B. But the thing is that what you must then do is that everything else must work towards getting the most out of him when he's on the pitch. As we mentioned, as you brought up, I remember, I can't remember which game it was. He was brought on, and then a couple minutes later, Adam Smith was taken off.
Who was the only player that crossed the ball
in the game.
I think might be wrong. Chelsea. And Adam Smith had crossed 3 really good balls in the box. They went down as completed crosses, and there was no one in there of ability to head the ball. And then you brought Kiefer Moore on, and you took Adam Smith off.
Yeah, like 2 minutes later. So it was a waste of a substitution window in the first place. But 2, it's like if he is, there will be games where, with 10, 15 minutes to go, we're a goal behind, 2 goals behind, we just need to try and get a goal. And the team at the moment don't look capable of playing through a team. And if you can't play through them, you have to play over or around them. And most defenders don't have to deal with someone of the presence and ability and just general nuisance and strength of Kiefer Moore. And provided that you actually make sure that you get the ball wide and you cross it in the box and you give him opportunities to score, he is exactly what a team like Bournemouth should be looking to try and have as an option. Because as for his all-round game, I don't think it's anywhere near Premier League quality. But in terms of he is a battering ram, use him as a battering ram, and then you'll actually get something out of him. That's what I would do personally. But then, if I was the manager, I would also be making sure that I play to his strengths, which Gary O'Neill is not doing.
Okay. With regards to this tier list, we know we need more goals in this team. Now, let's say we get a Nicholas Jackson. Let's say we get another type of striker that can score 10, 12, 15 goals. You've got Dom Solanke, going to come to him next. You've got Semenyo. We've already put him in his keep. I want Kiefer Moore to stay. I like Kiefer Moore. If he plays to his strengths, he's a good player to have. My problem is I want to bring in another striker, and I just don't think Kiefer Moore has a part to play.
Yeah, I get that. I just think
we're
that
actually in a place for the first time.
I don't see there's any like Jackson isn't going to provide the kind of bulldozing that Kiefer Moore does, and we've seen as well it hasn't worked in every game, but he has bullied defenders when he's played as well, which is always a great thing to have in terms of physical battles.
Can you keep 4 strikers happy if you're only playing 1?
It depends on what Kiefer Moore wants. It entirely depends on what Kiefer Moore wants. Would Kiefer Moore rather, given that he is 30, so he's not that old in terms of he's definitely got probably 4 more years of professional football in him, would he be willing to stick around as a bench option for a lower end Premier League side, or would he rather drop back down to the Championship and be a starter for 2/3 of the squads? Because the thing is, even if he goes down to the Championship, he's not going to go to a Norwich.
No,
because he's not. He's what he can do. He's really good at, but the rest of his game isn't exactly brilliant. It's okay. It's better than I thought he was in certain aspects, but yeah, I would still keep. I would keep him provided that he is. He knows what position he is in the squad. But, as you've spoken before, he probably wouldn't mind getting regular game time because he wants to stay in the Wales squad.
Yeah.
So I think he'd push for a move.
Okay.
And if he pushes for a move, I'd rather sell him. So it's a difficult one.
So you'd put him in keep. I would like to keep him. I'm going to think that we're going to sign another striker based on that theory. And the potential apple cart being upset by him maybe not being on the bench. I'm not saying he would cause a drama in the changing rooms, but just 4 strikers, generally 1 striker in your team, in your starting 11. I'm going to put him in sell, but I do take your point, John, on this video that it is a valid point to keep him, and I would like to keep him. I just think he will go out the door, and I'll take that one. But John has definitely put him in keep. There's not a separate tier list just for John. So I will go with that one.
Literally the only change if it was a separate tier list for me anyway. That's the only one we've really had to properly argue about. But there's not going to be any change with the last one. The last one's straight in there as well. I mean, there's no debate at all on this one.
Let's put Dom Solanke. He's straight in to keep. He is on a good contract. Let's talk about Dom Solanke again, though, because it's going to be an important conversation this season. I think we need more goals in this game. If Philip Billing exits, does his role change? Interesting conversation. This is really a big season for Dom Solanke. I said that after the 2 championship seasons. I think he got credit in the bank with the championship that sort of got him through this season. And don't get me wrong, John, he's scored goals and actually shown at times he can score good goals and be really composed in those moments. I've seen other moments where he's almost flashed back 3 years and been snapping at shots and overrunning it, taking too many touches, shooting down the neck of the goalkeeper. I love Dom Solanke. I think a lot of fans do, but he has got to up his game with goals, and I think we will get another striker. Does his role change this season if we get another striker?
Entirely depends on what Gary O'Neill wants to do. It really does, because it could change. But I had issues with, I think that you weren't getting the complete package of Philip Billing last season by playing him as a second striker for the large chunk of things. I think he worked even better as a player that was a little bit more box to box, had a bit more involvement in the general build up rather than being, for the most part, the sort of finishing touch of a lot of our moves. Whereas with Solanke, he's able to do a lot more a sort of all-round game. And then when you're looking at if Billing moves on and Traorè comes in, he's very definitely a 10. He's not going to win. You can't lump the ball up to the two of them because Traorè is not that big and Solanke's not all that dominant in the air. So I don't think it would change too much. But if we do bring in someone that is more of a pure goal scorer, although those don't necessarily exist massively in the modern game, you could well see him move deeper. You could see him more as the number 10, Traorè rested at times, or a genuine striking partnership. You could, because he is capable of being the main man, but he's also very much able to do everything around the main man. And heck, he was the main man this season, but he did more assisting than he did goal scoring. So he's so capable of doing so much that it's sometimes difficult to sort of exactly know what is necessarily the best position for him to be in. But then again, he scored 29 goals in the championship, so clearly he's got a decent finish on it. Even if, as you mentioned, the numbers could have been better, I think he missed more big chances than anyone else in the championship in that promotion season, and he actually slightly underperformed his XG in that championship season. So he's what he definitely isn't is an out-and-out goal scorer. And if we bring one of those in, I mean, Jackson scored 10 gols in the second half of last season, I think it was. He's massively impressed, and
now worth 50 million.
Shot up, then we could well see his sort of role in the squad change a bit. But he's still very much our number 9.
Thanks for sticking with us on this part 2 video. We did get there in the end. Dom Solanke does go into keep, but this is going to be a massive season for Dom Solanke. There you have it. That is your tier list for keep, sell, or loan. Do tell us what you think in the comments. We'd love to read them. And John, as I look at that, some things pop out at me. That January spend in the championship seems to be on its way out. But also, we were talking about taking players from Lorient. There's some players in that sell list that potentially could go to Lorient. And as we close out this video, when you look at that, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking there's not that many loaned out. I thought maybe I think maybe there could be a few youngsters coming through that we could look to get some time. Obviously, we released a few of them recently. But I see a lot of a very good first 11 in there, but definitely need more numbers. And it shows that, because especially with the amount of selling, it's going to be a very busy window.
Thanks, John. We'll have to see what the summer brings. We'll find out what those fixtures will look like very, very soon. But thanks for joining me on this video, John.
Thanks again. Always a pleasure.
Thank you to you, the fans, for checking out this video. Do hit the like button, do subscribe, and do use those comments. Myself and John will see you on the next one. Up cherries.
Up the cherries.